All right, so I want to kind of walk you through the rubric for this project. You'll see that I put the standard as well as the first sentence of here, construct an argument which explains the advantages and disadvantages of nuclear power as an alternative source of energy. So like the goal of this project at the top again to kind of remind you that this is why we're doing this, okay? So what I've done is I broke the standard down as well as the letter expectations or that I'm looking for. Now remember, I said in the first video, we're using this fictional scenario that Athens is going to get a nuclear power plant. And you are either going to tell me you are for or against the building of this, okay? Now, you'll notice that it's set from 0 to 4, 4 being exceeds the standard, okay? 3 is where you're kind of like meet the standard. Yeah, you get it. 2 is progressing. You understand some aspects of it, but you still need some more work. And this does not mean, okay? You do not show enough understanding of the material for me to be able to say, hey, you know something, okay? So you can kind of see that's the way it's broken down for you. So what we're going to do is we're going to focus on the exceeds column because that's where I want you guys to be. That is your goal, okay? Everything else below that you can kind of see is where you're missing some of these pieces, okay? Now, remember, you can cite any of the information in your packet. Don't be afraid to go back. Don't feel like, oh, I've got to be able to do this off the top of my head. The answer to that is no. Go back in this packet. Use the videos. Use every resource that I've given you throughout this unit. And of course, I'm always here to answer questions. So the first part of this assignment that I'm going to focus on in your letter is, do you understand nuclear energy? Okay. So student thoroughly explains how nuclear energy and Student thoroughly explains nuclear energy and how it is formed. Student discusses fission and fusion. So you're going to tell me this is nuclear energy. This is where it comes from. You're also going to tell me this is how we get nuclear energy from fission. Here are the results. Here's how fission works. Here's fusion. This is how fusion works. Why don't we use fusion? Why do we use fission? Okay, you're going to go into that level of detail. And I think I said this in the first video, but if you were to have missed it, you can go back and find that information on pages 38 through 45. All of that is going to be over fission and fusion. It'll walk you through that again. Okay, so I'm looking for you to discuss both, not just fission. Okay, now you'll notice I put your learning target here, which is basically the point of this assignment, the argument piece of this. Construct an argument which explains the advantages and disadvantages of nuclear power as an alternative source of energy. You need to take a clear position. Okay, remember, I'm not grading you on whether you are for or against it. That's not my place to decide or to tell you how to think. My job is for you to take a stance on this and use scientific evidence to support your claim, okay? So don't feel like, oh, I've got to say I'm for or I've got to say I'm against, because that's what Ms. Paul wants to hear. No, you say and you state your side and have science evidence to back it up. Okay, and I tried to give you an example of this using the TED Talk, where you had two very well-known scientists in their fields actually be for and against it. So just because you're a scientist doesn't mean you have to be for something or have to be against something. Okay, it is your decision. You just need to make sure you have a clear position on it. Okay, so you need to state, I am for the use or I am for the building of a nuclear power plant in Athens. I am not for a building of a nuclear power plant in Athens, okay? Student discusses the pros and cons of nuclear energy. It does not matter which side you are on. You need to discuss both sides of the argument. You need to address, these are the pros of it, these are the cons of it, but this outweighs this, and here's why. You always want to address those counter arguments. Remember, I gave you kind of this lawyer scenario a little bit earlier. And I've used this before in class as well. Lawyers look for the holes in someone else's argument. Think about, is there a hole in your argument? What do I need to do to close that hole up to make it an open and shut case? My evidence is the best. Here's why. So you want to make sure you can give me all that you know about fission, fusion, nuclear energy. And you can go back to pages 51, 52, 53, 54. You can also look back at page 59, 60, and 61. You can also feel free to look up other sources online, but just make sure they're legitimate sources. Make sure it's not Google or Wikipedia. You want to use a good source, okay? When you're talking about nuclear energy, obviously you cannot forget radiation. You do need to include that in there because it is a part of this unit. It is a part of the standard. So somewhere in this article, you need to talk about radiation. You need to make sure you mention all 4 types. Even though some are not as powerful as others, they're still a form of radiation. And whether you're for or against, this is still a concern for people on the opposite argument. So you need to say whether we should be concerned, not concerned. Here are the types of radiation. Here are the effects of it. And here's the process of decay. This is what a half-life is. This is what's going to cause the nuclear energy to become stable over time. So you need to go back and use the information on isotopes. You may even want to define that. This is an isotope. It's going to give this radiation off, but we're surrounded by radiation all the time. This is a good argument for those of you who are for it. But you can look back at the beginning of this packet, or you can look at pages 22 through pages 28. All of this is going to cover the different types of radiation, where it comes from, their weakness, so that you can go into detail with that. All right. Last but not least, that's the meat of the standard. The last part is the presentation. Okay. Now, like I said, originally this was designed for you guys to work in class with me, but you can treat it the same way. You're welcome to put this on paper, poster. You're welcome to do it in a slideshow. You're welcome to do it on a computer document. It doesn't matter to me how you present it. It's just making sure you get it turned in, and that no matter what the format is that it's nice and it's neat. So the editorial is written in a logical order. You need to make sure this flows. Go back and read your work. Make sure that, okay, this is actually a chronological order. Here's why. Here's my evidence. This is radiation. Make sure it flows. Your position is clear. I can tell that you are for or against it very clearly based on what you're saying. All the information supports your position and student addresses counter arguments, okay? You need to make sure that what you're saying doesn't contradict itself. Yes, you want to address counter arguments, but you also want to say, even though that research is showing this, I'm still right because, okay? So make sure that you're not contradicting yourself and that your information and your position are clear. Student work demonstrates high levels of creativity and originality, okay? I don't want you guys to just copy the template that I'm going to show you here in just a second. I want you to turn this and make this into your own. Okay, be creative. Especially for those of you who like to draw, this is a good chance for you to do that. If you choose to draw or want to do it on paper, that's fine with me. Take a picture of it, email it to me, or if you are working on paper assignments and you would like to drop it off in the box at the high school during drop-off or pickup days, you're welcome to do that as well. But emailing me, turning them in like that, would be the easiest method. I am going to try to put together a Google form for you guys so that you can submit them to me that way. But honestly, any way you can get it to me is fine. Just communicate with me on your method of how you're going to turn it in. Okay. But ultimately, it needs to have pictures, and the work is colorful. Okay. If you're on the computer, this is pretty easy. Make sure though I can read it. Highlighter yellow. My eyeballs, I can't read that, guys. Okay. Pictures, if you're going to use pictures from the internet, make sure you cite those sources because those are not your images, and we want to get in a good habit of making sure you do that. That's just good practice for when you guys get to college. You can't take credit for something that's not yours. Okay, we want to prevent plagiarism on that end. Also, you don't need to be copying and pasting from other sources. You need to be putting things in your own words. If you are getting information from a source outside of this packet, and you'll see that I've even cited my sources a lot of times in this packet, when I've got them from somewhere else, you need to make sure that you cite that. Okay, that prevents plagiarism. The computer is easy to copy and paste. We don't want that to happen. Okay, because unfortunately, I cannot give you full credit. or give you credit at all if you copy and paste from another source. Okay, you need to make it your own. On page 69, okay, you're going to see that I gave you an example template. So you can kind of see this is my newspaper article, Athens Banner Herald. You could probably go online and even find the correct Athens Banner Herald heading, whatever. But I've kind of given you like I don't know, I'd say like the bare bones minimum, kind of a way to organize your work, a writing frame here to help you. Okay. Athens is receiving a nuclear power plant. Athens is receiving a power plant as a citizen of Oglethorpe County and a neighbor of Athens, Clarke County. I feel the building of a nuclear power plant, blah. Okay, because this. You'll notice that the way I've organized it, everything that you need to include is there. However, this is the bare minimum that I have put in this writing frame. You will notice in big bold letters, I have put, this is a guide and an idea. This should not be what you turn in as the finished product. You need to turn this into your own. You need to include pictures. You need to write this in a way. You shouldn't just be filling in the blanks, okay? That is simply a template to help you. You need to make it your own, okay? So what I don't want to see is you copy and paste this into a Microsoft Word document or another Google document and turn this back into me. Please do not do that. That is not what I'm looking for, okay? Make it your own. As you can see, there's not even a place to add pictures, make colors. You can change the heading, you can change the version. This is your newspaper article, and this is your way of showing me what you have learned about nuclear energy. Okay, I know I went through that pretty quickly, but as always, I'm here to answer any questions. I'm here to help you. If you would like me to read over your work before you submit it, you need some ideas, you're stuck, please, please, please reach out to me. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to help you guys. Let me know if you need anything. You will have until Tuesday of next week. So your project is due on Monday. Next Tuesday, I'm going to be starting something new. So you will have until the end of the day on the 27th to get this to me before we move on to kind of the final reviews for the rest of the year. All right. Email me if you need anything. Bye, guys.